Good evening, denizens of the night, and welcome to Fangs After Dark. Tonight I wanted to do something special for reaching a 100 subscriber milestone for my channel. I know that might not seem like a whole hell of a lot to a lot of people, and I definitely intend to grow more. I would love to get a lot more subscribers and really make this channel pop. But I also believe that we should be grateful and appreciative of the small victories that we achieve, the milestones that we make, because at the end of the day, progress is progress, right? So I wanted to do something a little special for reaching 100 subscribers. And I thought it'd be fun to do like a little Q&A session that I think it'd be fun to answer. So I put out a post to the community on my channel asking them to, asking you guys to post whatever questions you think would be cool. And if I didn't get any questions, no big deal. I would probably just do like an art piece of some sort instead, which I still might do anyways, just because I like to create art. But I did get quite a few questions from a few people. One user specifically posted like a whole series of questions, which I thought was really, really cool. So I'm going to do my best to answer them and share them with you guys, so you guys get to know me a little bit more. And yeah, here's to 100 more and even further beyond. So the first question was posted by Ravager4561, and they asked me, what is my favorite clan? Well, my favorite clan is the Banu Hakim. I really enjoy the aesthetic of the clan. I like the nuance of the Banu Hakim. They are a lot more in-depth and complicated than a lot of people give them credit for. I know they have that stigma that they're just the vampire assassin clan, and I mean, to a point that is true. They do a lot of mercenary assassination work for people, especially in the older timelines of Vampire the Masquerade. In the V5 timeline, they've become a lot more entrenched in the political side of things. But the Banu Hakim have always been a very in-depth clan. The principles of the Banu Hakim, I think, are really great. The judge aspect, the keepers of my brother kind of principles that they hold, where they try to, hold the vampire kind responsible for their monstrous natures and things like that. It really appeals to my personal sense of honor and responsibility. So I just vibe really well with that clan. And they've always been my favorite to play. I've played quite a few Banu Hakim. I'm currently playing a Banu Hakim in one of my friend's games that he's running locally for me and my friends, Transylvania Chronicles. I played a Banu Hakim in Voivode Maquette's ST services. He's ran a game for me where I played a Banu Hakim. I played a Banu Hakim in local LARPs, things like that. So yeah, I'd say Banu Hakim are definitely my favorite clan for quite a few reasons. Another question, which was also asked by Ravager4561, was, what is my favorite thing about V5 and the worst thing about V5? Well, the favorite thing about V5 for me is the hunger system. I think the hunger system that they have for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition is actually the best thing about the system itself. There are a lot of other pros to the system, for sure, but I think the thing that stands out the most for me is the hunger system. I think that having that kind of tie-in to the narrative and the actions that the players take, having a mechanical instigator for the monstrous nature of vampirism, I think is really, really awesome. It adds a lot of impact, and it adds a lot of drama and craziness to the game that I think you just can't do with like a blood point system unless you have like an ST that really goes out of their way. I also really like the fact that it really pushes like hunting, feeding. back in the day, hunting and feeding, at least in a lot of the games that I played, hunting and feeding was really just like some sort of ancillary side thing that we had to do. And you can do the same thing in V5 as well. Obviously, you don't have to focus on hunting scenes. You can make those into the background as well. But I really just like the fact that V5 pushes the vampiric nature more, you know, and the hunger system is one of the coolest and innovative ways that they've done that. So that's probably the one thing I really, really like, probably the best thing I like about V5. The worst thing I think V5 did, in my opinion, is how they streamlined, not really streamlined, but they kind of like condensed the disciplines and washed them down a little bit. We all love disciplines, we all love the superpowers, and I know that they are trying to go in a way where the clans aren't defined by the powers that they possess, but I feel like there is still clans out there that were defined by the powers they possess, like Clan Tremere being a prime example. Is they the only reason they even survived after becoming a clan proper was because they had thaumaturgy, because they had this discipline, this power. That the whole reason they were able to retain a power base and become a powerhouse of the Camarilla was because of the power they possessed in thaumaturgy. Now, that's not the only thing that the clan is good at. That's not the only thing that the clan can excel in, obviously. And then on an individual basis, that's even more true. But I think that they should have kept more of the specific clan disciplines, more of the out there, niche style disciplines that only can be gained by playing a specific clan. Don't get me wrong, I really like the fact that they kind of opened up the ability for vampires to get disciplines that they normally wouldn't have more easily, but I still think they should have kept very niche, closed off disciplines for the sake of just more, uniqueness in certain aspects. The next question is also asked by Ravager, and they asked me, what is my most memorable TTRPG moment? And that question is a little bit more complicated to answer because I hold a lot of moments in my tabletop experience in high regard on top of my LARPing experience, because when I started Vampire the Masquerade, I started it as a LARP. Like, that was my first foray into the IP in general, was a LARP event, and I LARPed for the longest time after that. And then after I wasn't able to do the LARP anymore because the game itself just kind of fizzled away, I started getting into more of the tabletop aspect of things. And I played, second edition, V20 revised, anniversary, all the way up until 5th edition. I've also played the Chronicles of Darkness games as well. Vampire the Requiem, Mage the Awakening, Werewolf the Forsaken, Hunter the Vigil, all those things. So I got my fix on that side of World of Darkness as well. So there's a lot that I can do. I also play an extensive amount of other games too, like D&D, Dungeon World, Star Wars. I do a lot of different TTRPGs. So there's so much, and that can be a video in itself. So I think I'm going to refrain from answering that question for now, and I'll probably make a video of that in the future if people want. But there's quite a few of them. So I'll get back to that question at some point in the future. The next question that Ravager asked me was what I thought about Paradox Interactive's reign over the World of Darkness intellectual property for, Vampire the Masquerade and all that stuff. And in my opinion, I don't really have a good or bad opinion either way. I think they're doing fine. They're putting out content, they're supporting the IP, they're keeping it going. Whether some people like it or not is completely, neither here nor there for me. Like, I generally like the content. I like what they've been putting out. I've been enjoying it. I play V5. I enjoy V5. So overall, I guess my opinion would be like they're doing just fine. There's some new books coming out that I'm pretty excited for, like Gehenna War, the new By Night, Laws of the Night. And yeah, so that nothing really too crazy or special there. I think they're doing fine, I guess. If there's something I'm missing for that, I guess let me know in the comments if you want. I have no problem reading and expanding my knowledge on things going on and whatnot. So feel free to let me know. Another question that Ravager asked me was, am I aware of the Vampire the Masquerade Redemption Awakening remake? And yes, I am. I am actually on the Discord for that. I'm not very active on the Discord. I actually petitioned it to do some voiceover work for the game itself, but I never got around to doing it, unfortunately. But I am very aware of it, and I am very excited for that to come out so I can play it. And because man, I tried playing the old game, and I just couldn't. I couldn't play it. I looked up the story and what was going on for the sake of reading up on what the story was and the characters and what happened in the game and whatnot, because I love Vampire the Masquerade stories in general. But I just couldn't play the game. It was just too old and clunky for me to really enjoy it. So, but I am aware of the remake, the fan remake that's going on, and I am absolutely excited for that one, 110%. Another question Ravager asked me is, if I had an unlimited budget, what would my ideal Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 game look like? And honestly, that's a pretty in-depth question too, but I will answer it because I think it's pretty fun to ponder and think about. But I think at the end of the day, I would want, if I had all the power to make the decisions for what was going on and an unlimited budget to develop whatever I needed to, I would develop Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 in a way that's similar to Baldur's Gate 3 and the original Bloodlines game. I think I would have like a mix of the two, right? So you would have, the third-person view. The system itself would be based off of the tabletop system in some way. How that looks like, I'm not sure, because I'm not a video game, creator or whatever. But with unlimited budget, I'm sure that we'd be able to pay a team to figure it out, right? But then I would also add a coterie system, kind of like the Baldur's Gate 3, party that you have. And the coterie system could be something like, you go out and you find coterie mates in the city that you convince to join you for whatever reason. You guys have a communal haven you go to. And you can bring your coterie mates along on jobs, missions, whatever, depending on what it is, right? Hell, I mean, if you could, in the Bloodlines 2 that they have going on now, your character that you're playing, Fire, is supposed to be the sheriff, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you, as the character, was the sheriff, and then you had a bunch of hounds as your coterie mates that you could send to do certain things or take with you to do certain jobs, right? That would be pretty dope. Character creation, I would also have it be a kind of a combined thing, kind of like Baldur's Gate does. You can make your own custom character, or you can choose one of the coterie mates that you have, and when you choose them as a main character, the story changes in some way, right? I thought that was a really, really cool thing in Baldur's Gate 3, and I think that would be really awesome for Bloodlines as well. And I think I would still stick with the hub system, because I think the hub system is really great, but you can expand it, you can make it more detailed, you can add more people there, you can do all sorts of crazy things. And then obviously I would want the combat to be very visceral. I would want the graphics to be as top end as I can get it. Combat being very visceral. The world itself looking like dark and gritty and dingy. I really like the almost satirical way that the first Bloodlines kind of portrayed the world, and I think that's a really, really fun aesthetic to have, so I would probably keep a lot of that in my version of Bloodlines 2. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, all the clans would be available to play. I would absolutely have missions and quests for all of the clans specifically. I would have all the sects in the game as well, Camarilla, Sabbat, Anarch, Independent, things like that. I would have missions and quests and stuff like that related to the sects as well. It would be huge. It would be very, very big. And, with an unlimited budget, you can, sky's the limit, right? But I think that would be amazing to have something like that. One thing that I will say, though, that I think would probably do better for Bloodlines overall is, instead of trying to create a continuation from the first game like Bloodlines 2, I think I would adopt a format that's very similar to Final Fantasy, in which the game itself has the Bloodlines name on it, right? But every Bloodlines game is a completely separated story with different characters in different places doing different things, like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy takes it to a whole new level where every story is in its own like universe, right? But I think that same kind of format would work with Bloodlines, where you would have a story in a different city with different characters and doing different things, maybe even different timelines, older or, in the future or something like that. Not like sci-fi future, but just, future years. And I think that would be a really great format to take with Bloodlines as well, is doing something like that, because, obviously tying games into each other when you're vampires, it could span 20, 50, 100 years, things like that. You can do it, but it kind of ties you and makes you a little bit more limited on some of the things you can do and the narratives you can tell. So I think that open anthology format would be very awesome to expand on the capability of the stories and narratives that can be told. But yeah, that would be my ideal Bloodlines 2 if I had an unlimited budget and I had the call to, do whatever I wanted. A fanboy's dream, right? The last question that Ravager asked me is, what do you think of older editions of World of Darkness and Vampire the Masquerade? Do I think they are better? Do I think they are worse? The answer to that is, I think they are just different. I enjoyed playing the older versions of Vampire the Masquerade and World of Darkness in general. The systems were fun. Tabletop RPG systems can be all sorts of different things. Obviously, the systems will allow the game to be supported in different ways depending on what's going on, right? I think that the older version of Vampire the Masquerade V20 was very granular, and I know a lot of people really like that kind of system, and to a point I do too. It can really allow for a lot of honest mechanical play for things to turn out specific ways. You had a lot more variety and disciplines in the V20 versions, which I enjoyed. I do like the older thaumaturgy paths quite a bit, even though I do enjoy the V5 blood sorcery for its own reasons. I still enjoy the older thaumaturgy system as well. The blood pool system for the older editions was that part of it was just kind of blah to me, I suppose, because it just kind of relegated vampire powers into being just some sort of, like super Marvel Hero Super-esque kind of situation that's powered. Your mana pool is just your blood pool. That's why I like the V5 version of the hunger system, because it really ties the vampires' use of their vitae into their vampiric nature, and they're connected in a way that it can cause problems narratively, which is, conflict is where the meat of a story is, right? I've played some older werewolf as well. I've played older mage, and I've enjoyed all of them. Like I said, I enjoy them for different reasons. They're a different kind of game, and at the end of the day, how fun a game is less based on the system and more based on how the storyteller and the players collaborate into making a great story, right? I think that's very important to put out there. How fun a game is less based on the system and more about the group you're with. So that's just something to really think about, because I can enjoy every system. I can have fun with every system, because at the end of the day, it's a game and I love playing games. But I do enjoy them. I don't necessarily think they're worse. I don't necessarily think they're better. I just think they're different. That might be a little bit of a fence sitter kind of answer, but that's how I truly feel about it. They're just different. There are aspects of V20 that I like more than V5. There are aspects of V5 that I like more than V20, and vice versa, for Hunter, The Reckoning, Hunter 5, the Werewolf, the Apocalypse 5, things like that. I think they can all be very fun. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's all about the table you're sitting at. That's what makes the game fun. And moving on from that was Ravager's last question, because he shot me a whole bunch of questions, which I very greatly appreciate. I enjoyed answering most of them. But another question that was asked by a different user, Jared Hale 20. He said, "You aren't doing anything out of the ordinary to grow your channel, just making content and not advertising." I'm not specifically super new to YouTube, but at the same time, I'm not very well versed in like the algorithms, and I haven't utilized the shorts, and I know that there are certain things that I can do to, add more potential to growing my channel, getting on other social media platforms and things like that. Those are just things that I haven't figured out quite yet that I'm looking into. Obviously, I can greatly improve my production quality for my videos, but fun fact, all the videos I've put up have been just done on my phone with a photo editor app, a voice app, recorder app, and then a video editing app. So a lot of this has just been on my phone. I don't have like a dedicated space in my house just yet for this kind of stuff. But if you guys have any ideas, recommendations, advice on, how I could grow my channel's audience and things like that, feel free to leave them in the comments below, because I'd be greatly interested in seeing what you guys have to say about that. I would love any advice on these things, because, I'm just a normal person like the rest of you guys. I just want to share my love for this game and this IP with you guys, and I'm doing it through YouTube. So there's that. Another question that was asked by, and forgive me if I do not pronounce this correctly, Yuri Ramos Braga Ferreira. Aside from VTM, do you like other games in the World of Darkness, like Werewolf the Apocalypse and Hunter the Reckoning, etc.? I did mention this before. I have played all of the games. I actually haven't had an opportunity to play Hunter 5 or Werewolf 5 yet, but I have played older versions of Werewolf the Apocalypse and Hunter the Reckoning, which I do enjoy. My favorite Chronicles of Darkness game was Hunter the Vigil, so I really enjoyed Hunter in Chronicles. But to answer that question, yes, I like all World of Darkness games. I love playing in all of them. I think they all have special niches to them. And I'm very excited for them to come out with Mage, because I really like Mage as well. And it's just, I'm a big fan of World of Darkness in general. Vampire is my favorite, obviously. It's the one that I have the most experience with. It's the one that's closest, near and dear to my heart. But I love all the World of Darkness IPs, games in general. And I would love to play in every single one of them at some point down the line. The last question in this little Q&A of ours comes from user Joseph Carlin 1463. He asks, there are a lot of old and powerful vampires in Vampire the Masquerade. Who's your favorite elder and why? He says that his is Mithras, as he's shown in lore time and time again to be resilient, tenacious, powerful, surviving diablerie, fighting against the Second Inquisition. He is just an icon of elderdom in Vampire the Masquerade as a whole. And I do agree. I think Mithras is actually really, really cool. I mean, there's a whole pre-made chronicle for V5 in regards to bringing him back, which I have yet to run, but I do plan on running at some point, or at least playing in, because I haven't played it in either. But for me, there's a lot of elders that I really like for a lot of different reasons. And I know I keep trying to, stick in the middle with a lot of things, but it's really just how I feel about a lot of this stuff. It's hard for me to pick a favorite. It's hard for me to pick one moment. It's hard for me to pick one singular thing, because there's just so many things that I've experienced with this game and the IP and the meta with games that I've run, games that I've played in. It's really hard for me to just pick a singular thing. And the same thing goes for, elders in the lore. There's a bunch of elders that I think are really cool for different reasons. But I will pick two that are higher up on the list for me. And those two are Cuthbert Beckett of Clan Gangrel and Urshulgi of Clan Banu Hakim. Cuthbert Beckett, I think, is just a really cool character because of the fact that he is a Gangrel that kind of plays against the typeset of what Gangrel are. He travels, he's a nomadic in that traditional sense for the clan, but he is a scholar. He wants to, find out the secrets of kindred kind. He wants to unveil the origins of how kindred are, how we evolved, things like that. He's an anthropologist, he's a scholar, he's a historian, he's a nodist. He's made allies, he's made enemies of other interesting characters, he's made lovers of interesting characters. He had an adoptive sire in Aristotle de Laurent, which is another awesome elder that existed in Vampire the Masquerade. And he just has a lot of really awesome stories surrounding him. Beckett's Jihad Diary is an awesome book, and it's a great read. If you get a chance to get that and read it, it's well worth it. You'll get so much meta lore dump in your head that it'll make your brain spin, but it's all really awesome. It's all really cool. And maybe I'll do a review on that book at some point myself, but Cuthbert Beckett is definitely one of my faves for sure. The other one that I mentioned, Urshulgi, he's one of my favorites, not just because he's part of the Banu Hakim, which is my favorite clan, but because of the conflict and the juicy narratives that he instills with the clan itself. Like I stated in the very first question, a lot of people typeset Banu Hakim / Esamites as just like assassins, and that's all they do. But Urshulgi, being one of the elders of the clan, is one of the things that adds so much more depth and deep, narrative, juicy plot points that really make the clan stand out to me. He's got a lot of ambiguous lore tied around to him in the fact that is he Bali? Is he one of the progenitors of the Bali? He was in torpor for such a long time, and then he woke up, and when he came out of torpor in the Modern Nights, he broke the centuries-old Tremere curse that was put on the clan like a straight Chad. And then in doing this, he made a proclamation stating that any Banu Hakim that did not follow the tenets of the blood, the path of blood, would be destroyed. And by this time in the Modern Nights, a lot of the Banu Hakim had adopted different religious and philosophical ideals. A bunch of them decided they weren't going to follow Urshulgi's proclamation. Al-Ashrad, another Banu Hakim elder, which is really cool, took a crap ton of the clan and they escaped Urshulgi because of his, persecution that he was trying to do. And fun fact, Al-Ashrad and his retinue are the Banu Hakim that have ingratiated themselves in the Camarilla. And part of that is because they're trying to escape Urshulgi's wrath. So keep that in mind if you ever want to think about some cool plot hooks or whatever. But that right there, just saying all that and thinking about all that already just makes it really cool. The clan itself, the Banu Hakim, and Urshulgi being like a pillar of the clan, somebody that is iconic to the clan itself. He's very alien. His visage is supernaturally, he looks like he's got cracked skin that's all burnt, and the cracks in his skin glow with this kind of fiery, iridescent glow. His eyes are pure black. He has the stature of a young, young teenage boy, and he speaks and moves as if something inhuman, and that is just super, super cool to me. It's really awesome to read up on characters like that. One of the things that I like about elders in general is just how alien they can become compared to more, regular mortals and other kindred that stick to, the path of humanity or, road of humanitas or whatever. There's just a lot of really awesome supernatural horror stories and narratives that can be told with elders, which is, going back to another question earlier, one of the things I didn't like about V5, I don't necessarily enjoy the fact that they pushed elders really far into the background. I understand why they did it, but for me, elders will always remain a prominent aspect in my games, whether they're going to be, in your face or they're going to be more in the backgrounds. They're always going to be there. And like I said, those two right there are elders that I really enjoy. And there's many more to come. And as a matter of fact, thinking about this question right now, I've decided I think I'm going to make a video talking about my top 5 elders. I will pick 5 elders in Vampire the Masquerade lore that I think are my top 5 favorites, and I will make a video about them because, they're dope. And then I'll continue making other videos about just elders in general, prominent elder characters. and I'll talk about them, give you my opinion, talk about some of their lore and their background, their story. I think that'd be really fun. So that was the Q&A, guys. I really appreciate everyone that dropped questions in the community post I had. I'm very grateful and appreciative of all the support that I've been given. I know, like I said before, I know that 100 doesn't seem like a whole lot in the great span of what YouTube is, but I am still very appreciative and very grateful, and I hope to keep growing. Like I said before, drop in the comments if you have any ideas, advice, recommendations on how I can improve, how I can continue to grow. I am more than willing to, take advice and, grow, because at the end of the day, one person doesn't grow on their own. They grow with the help of others. And this community can be pretty tight-knit, and I really enjoy all of the stories and all of the crazy shenanigans that we can get up to in the world of darkness. So I'll see you in the next video, and remember, nothing good ever happens after dark.